Welcome to Metals Investment Forum. It's my great pleasure to have newly founded company called Vizsla Copper, Craig Perry, CEO of Vizsla Copper. Welcome.
Chen, good to be with you.
All right, thank you. I mean, it's a new company. You got some new exciting project, and tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, so look, we spun Vizsla Copper out of Vizsla Silver 18 months ago. We've been trying to put our foot on as much copper as we can, and we announced a deal with Consolidated Woodjam to acquire the company late last year. And that gets us part of the way to that objective. We've got nearly 2 billion pounds of copper on the portfolio now, 1 million ounces of gold, and a huge number of very prospective targets to expand all of that.
Okay, can you tell us where the project is? And
Sure.
What's your plan this year?
We love British Columbia. Firstly, I should say we love copper. I think copper's going to $20 or $30 a pound in the next few years. So you must have as much copper as you possibly can. We love British Columbia. You know, until recently was the chairman of Skeena Resources. I know from that experience you can advance a project effectively here and do very well here. And I think British Columbia has the chance to be the next Chile in terms of copper production. Some very big porphyry copper systems in the province, some major mines like Gibraltar and Mount Polley. Some of those are a little bit lower grade, but what we're finding now, we just don't think that there's been enough exploration done for these alkalic porphyry systems, and that there are much higher grades possible if you do good exploration work. As an example, New Afton, New Gold's project near Kamloops there, 100 million tonnes at 1.1, 1.2% copper. We know they're out there. We've just got to go and find them. And we think that one of the very best places on the planet to do that is on this Woodjam property that we have just south of Mount Polley. You know, as I say, there's a large resource base there. That's at about 0.4% copper equivalent. Really underpins the minuscule valuation of the company at the moment. We've got a market cap of 17 million. You know, I think it's worth many multiples of that, so we're happy to buy the project for $11 million. But what we found, now that we're getting into it and getting into the database, there's some spectacular large high-grade hits that have never really caught anyone's attention, that no one knows about. You know, for example, 150 metres at 2.5 grams gold and 0.5% copper. And these zones are wide open. You know, the past explorers never had the funding to follow those up effectively. So they're just sitting there, dripping roasts for us to come along and take a bite out of.
Yeah, that's crazy. How deep are those? Where?
Good question. Our Deerhorn property, porphyry outcrops. So you're in mineralisation from about 4 metres. Megabuck, a little bit deeper. I think, you know, we start hitting mineralisation at about 50 metres depth.
And then nothing, yeah.
So nothing at all, really. Yeah. You know, very, very shallow. Of course, you look at some of these spectacular results that some companies are getting out of Argentina at the moment. You know, they're hitting mineralisation 400 metres down and extending these holes to somewhere down near the Moho. We don't need to do that here. It's all pretty low-cost exploration. Very important part of that about this project is that we're 55 kilometres east of Williams Lake. Roads and power crisscross the property. There's a lot of logging roads. In fact, the team was out there a couple of weeks ago, and a newly cut logging road had exposed some new copper mineralisation that we hadn't previously recognised off the existing deposits. So it's one of those great setups. A little bit like Vizsla Silver, you know, when we went down to our Panuco project in Vizsla Silver 4 or 5 years ago, I'd never seen so much undrilled metal sitting at the surface. Here, I've never seen so many potential porphyry systems that have not been drilled in a part of the world that's incredibly fertile for porphyries. I should say the past explorers, you know, Bill Morton and Glenn Garrett there at Consolidated Woodjam, very, very good geologists, but, you know, in the last 10 years of downturn have struggled to raise funds. So they do very modest drill programs. But where they did drill, invariably they hit a porphyry system. I think they had 7 original targets, 6 of which turned out to be porphyries. I've never ever, you know, I've been doing porphyry exploration for, I think, 24 years now. I've never seen such a conversion rate of target to discovery. We did a mag survey here a couple of weeks ago. We got the results back, and we came up, you know, again in 20 years, whenever I've had a porphyry project or property, I'm always thrilled if I see 2 or 3 discrete, good-looking mag targets. Well, here we came up with 103 mag targets. So I think this is a very special part of the Earth's crust. I think there's going to be a heck of a lot of porphyry mineralisation found there. And, you know, we've got the team, the funding and the capability to do just that.
Oh, excellent. You mentioned the team. Can you tell us your experience to the new investor?
Yeah, sure. So my background, I'm a geologist by trade. I started working for Rio Tinto in exploration in 1999. I spent 8 years with Rio Tinto in different roles around the world. I cut my teeth, learned about porphyries. I lived in Antofagasta in Chile for 2 years. They then moved me to Rio Tinto, moved me to China. So I spent a couple of years in China exploring that Tethyan belt for Oyu Tolgoi lookalikes. And then had a global role in various things with Rio Tinto. I left Rio in 2008 to join Owen Hegarty, and we started the Tigers Realm group of companies, where I was a co-founder of Next Gen Energy, EMR Capital. I'm still a general partner of EMR, where we've got about 7 billion of assets under management. And then NextGen was going well, so I moved over. I stepped off the board of NextGen last year, but I moved over here to Canada to run ISO Energy, and we made the discovery of the Hurricane deposit there. And then Mike Connett and I started doing business together, and we've built, you know, I think we've got 10 listed companies now, the most prominent of which is, of course, Vizsla Silver, where I'm the chairman and I think the second biggest shareholder. That's you know, Vizsla Silver is a tremendous story as well.
I remember it's one of my 10 baggers.
Oh, good one. Yeah, very good. Me too.
I came to the same MIF. I think it's also early in the year, and then talked with the Silver that, oh, I got to own some. So and next thing I know, it's tenfold. What's going on?
Well, yeah, I put up a lot of the risk capital. I think that's my first 80 bagger.
Oh, wow, you got in early. Yeah.
It's funny, actually. I was just thinking about the MIF conference. I think these are fantastic conferences. You know, it's at our stage of the game, it's so important to have support from newsletter writers like yourselves. And, you know, you do so much of that heavy lifting for investors, filtering through all the rubbish out there. And there is a heck of a lot of listed rubbish in Canada. So, you know, it's a huge advantage for investors to come to these things and see what you guys are seeing. But the last, you know, I've presented here a number of times. The first time was with ISO Energy. ISO was at about, I think, 30 cents a share when I first presented here. Eventually went to $5.60 a share before I stepped away from the company. And then Vizsla Silver, I think I presented here, and it was trading around 45 cents there a few years ago. You know, went as high as $3.60, is now hovering around $2. So it's a great place to pick up good stories. And I think, you know, Vizsla Copper, we're down at sort of 22 cents at the moment, 23 cents.
Let's keep a mark, 22 cents.
Yes, let's see if we can't do the same again and get it up into the dollars. I think we can. I think we've got the projects to do it. You know, for investors, the valuation of the company is underpinned by that large existing resource base. The exploration upside is very, very clear. There's high-grade drill hits that haven't been incorporated into the resource base yet, so easy wins there. And, you know, with the 6 million we just raised, we've got plenty of firepower to go and do an 8 to 10,000 metre drill campaign in June. Yeah. And we'll be drilling in and around some of those high-grade hits and looking to extend those zones. So, you know, you can never guarantee good results, but I think we're a very good chance of surprising the market come, you know, September or August or September when we start getting assays.
That's perfect for the conference, Beaver Creek and Denver.
Yeah, exactly. Very good point. Yep. Which we'll be at all of those, of course. Yeah.
Wow, excellent. All right, great for new investors. That looks like a very interesting stock to follow, if not own some.
I'd own some. I've bought a lot in this financing and every other financing as well, so it's a good time to get in, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chen.
Yeah, good to hear some good news from you in a few months. Great.
Yeah, looking forward to getting that out.